Drag shows are never appropriate for children. Transgender swimmer gets banned after winning a race, and pride flag ban sparks death threats. This ain't your mama's podcast. It's your Chico de Manuel Show. Let's get it. I'm firing up right now. You should too. Well, I was firing up, so I realized my lighter was in my pocket. Now I'm trying to awkwardly retrieve this shit without destroying my laptop. Life is good, man. Roll some weed. I wanted to open the day following up on something I previously talked about. Courtesy of the Associated Press, black student suspended over his hairstyle to be sent to an alternative education program. So if you don't know what this initial case is about, it's about this kid who was in this school in Texas, and he's got like these braided dreadlocks kind of hairstyle, and apparently the school thought he was in violation of the dress code, which required that the hair to be no lower than the eyebrows and no lower than the earlobe, something to that effect. Which his hairstyle was, after pretty close review, in violation of the rules. So the school put him on in-school suspension, and that was that. He was on in-school suspension, I think, for like 5 days or something like that, for a period of time. And the media tried to race hustle this shit, as they so often do. Even this headline says, black student suspended over his hairstyle. Like, it doesn't matter if he's black. It doesn't matter if he's black at all, but they want it to matter, so they mention it. Student suspended over his hairstyle to be sent to an alternative education program. Let's read this article. Okay, so I was wrong. After serving more than a month of in-school suspension over his dreadlocks, a black high school student in Texas was told he will be removed from his high school and sent to a disciplinary alternative education program on Thursday. Daryl George, 18, is a junior at Barbers Hill High School in Mont Belvieu and has been suspended since August 31st. He was told in a letter from the principal on Wednesday that he will be sent to EPIC, an alternative school program, from October 12th through November 29th for failure to comply with multiple campus and classroom regulations. Principal Lance Murphy said that in the letter that George has repeatedly violated the district's previously communicated standards of student conduct. The letter also says that George will be allowed to return to regular classroom instruction on November 30th, but will not be allowed to return to his high school's campus until then unless he dare discuss his conduct with school administrators. Barber Hills Independent School District prohibits male students from having hair extending below the eyebrows, earlobes, or the top of a t-shirt collar, according to the student handbook. Additionally, hair on all students must be clean, well-groomed, geometrical, and not an unnatural color or variation. The school does not require uniforms. Wow. Didn't know that. George's mother, Dorisha George, and the family's attorney denied the teenager's hairstyle violates the dress code. The family last month filed a formal complaint with the Texas Education Agency in the federal civil rights lawsuit against the state's governor and attorney general, alleging they failed to enforce a new law outlawing discrimination based on hairstyles. The family alleged George's suspension and subsequent discipline violate the state's Crown Act, which took effect September 1st. The law, an acronym for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, is intended to prohibit race-based hair discrimination and bars employers and schools from penalizing people because of hair texture or protective hairstyles, including afros, braids, dreadlocks, twists, or bantu knots. A federal version passed in the U.S. House last year but was not successful in the Senate. The school district also filed a lawsuit in the state district court asking a judge to clarify whether its dress code restrictions limiting student hair length for boys violates the Crown Act. The lawsuit was filed in Chambers County, east of Houston. Georgia's school previously clashed with two other black male students over the dress code. Barbers Hill officials told cousins DeAndre Arnold and Caden Bradford they had to cut their dreadlocks in 2020. Their family sued the school district in May 2020, and a federal judge later ruled the district's hair policy was discriminatory. Their pending case helped spur Texas lawmakers to approve the state's Crown Act law. Both students withdrew from the school, with Bradford returning after the judge's ruling. Okay, so yeah, what did they say? The rule was can't have hair extending below the eyebrows, earlobes, or top of a t-shirt collar. His hair is clearly below his eyebrows. It's not beneath the earlobes, but beneath the eyebrows for sure. And what difference does it fucking matter if he's black? It's the same thing I said last time, and they not the. I think the suspension is rather light. Like, when you consider that they just putting him in a program for 30 days, basically, or for a short period of time, a month or something. And then he gets to come back to class, or he's got to come have a conversation, you know. It sounds like the school is trying to be cooperative. It sounds like the school is trying to play ball, trying to work with this kid. Now, all he's really got to do is just redo the hairstyle. You might have to keep it an inch or two shorter until you graduate. You got another year or so. You can wear your hair whatever you want. But when your parents enrolled you in this school, I'm pretty sure somewhere in that orientation and that initiation, you agreed to be bound by the code of conduct that Barbers Hill School has set in place. So, for them to not just kick your ass out entirely is pretty considerate, in my opinion. Because they could just boot your ass. Like, you cannot come into establishments or come into areas where the ethos is one of a particular variety. You cannot just come in as a disruption, create a ripple effect, and just expect shit to fall in line because you're here. Definitely going to be talking about that more later in this episode. But, the audacity of people nowadays to just think people just inherently give a shit about your little interpretation of the world. Like, what have you done for me lately? Like, just because you're offended or you feel some type of way or somebody says some shit to you, or, you know, things didn't happen how you thought they would happen, like, that doesn't entitle you to anything. That doesn't mean shit. Like, the fact that the school is being sued over this Crown Act. Matter of fact, let's take a look and let's see what exactly the Crown Act encompasses in detail. Crown Act explanation, same thing. Okay. So we got something here. There's a link. What is the Crown Act? ADL. The Crown Act is a law that forbids discrimination on hair and texture and hairstyles. Ad pop up talking about we stand with Israel. It's good for you guys. Hair discrimination impacts black people, especially black women and girls in schools and workplaces who wear hairstyles such as locks, braids, twists, bantu knots, afros, and natural hair. They are punished by discriminatory workplace, school, and dress codes and grooming policies. Hair discrimination. Okay, so what I'm really trying to find is like where this applies. Because I really thought this was something that was like in the workplace, but I just read something up here that said they're punished by so they are punished by discriminatory workplace and school dress codes. But where does it forbid the impact of hair discrimination? What states have passed the Crown Act? Yeah, this isn't really telling me. Let's try. Let's take one more dip in that well. See if we can get something coherent. Houston Chronicle. All right, want to know about the Crown Act signing the law by Governor Abbott in Texas. More ads, more fucking ads. Come on, man. What is this? That took me away from where I went. All right. So, no. Get me out of here. Back. Oh, okay, so you're not going to let me read unless I pay. It's behind the paywall. Okay. Well, that's kind of actively making me not give a fuck, but I really just wanted to figure out if the Crown Act applied to just schools or if it was like the workplace or what it was. Like, I don't know. But it's just, this shit is silly, man. It's a silly lawsuit. The kid's hair is clearly fucking in violation.
What do you got?
All he's got to do is change his fucking hairstyle.
Kitty found a bone.
I wonder what she's over there eating. Yeah, they need to just take the punishment, change the hairstyle. Like this is not. This is media hype, man. Like a lot of this isn't like even like a real. This isn't. Yeah, the Crown Act got passed, but like this isn't a byproduct of that. This is. It's just race hustling, just leftist people mad because their kid can't break the rules and set a precedent for everybody else to fucking break the rules too. It says don't go past the earlobe, the eyebrows, the earlobe, or the top of the t-shirt collar, and it's past the fucking eyebrow. And now you think you need to bring something up to the courts because you're in violation of the rules? It's stupid. And then he gets a slap on the wrist. He gets like fucking in-school suspension and he's got to go to like an alternative education program for a month. And if he talks with the school, they can decide to let him come back in or whatever, and that'll be that. Like a suspension is a rather standard form of punishment for students, you know, because I presume they suspend you because they don't want your behavior to rub off on the other students. So they need to isolate you and give you some time to think about what you've done and come back with a solution so your behavior does not become a contagion in the classroom environment. I don't think this is to discriminate, but it's to set an example that when we make rules, we fucking expect you to follow them. The fuck? Why we sit here and make rules just for you to find ways to circumnavigate them and then be like, well, if you break the rules, well, now we're discriminating. Like, it's not always discrimination. I'm sure there's some cases where it's certainly been discrimination based on hair. I'm not denying that. I don't think the Crown Act I think it's a little dramatic, but I don't think it's useless. I don't think it's pointless. It's there for a reason. have it. But this right here, like, schools get to have their own dress code. Schools get to, tell you, based on the type of image they want to have, how you can appear in their environment. If you don't like that, find a different school. Shit isn't news. But I just wanted to follow up on it. Just because I talked about it before, and like, my stance is still the same. Like, dog in violation. This shit ain't newsworthy. And that's that. Before I get into this, never mind, I'll save it for the end. Courtesy of Newsweek, drag is never appropriate for kids. Opinion. The story's a little old, it's 3 months old, but showed up. Seemed like something I should take a peek at. Opinion piece. We start off by saying, I love drag. I've done drag. Many of my favorite celebrities are drag queens. If you asked me a decade ago what I thought of, say, RuPaul sashaying into a library in full sparkling evening gown glory to read a popular children's books to kids, I would have said it's hilarious. RuPaul's Drag Race did for drag queens what Will and Grace did for gays in the 2000s. I would argue most Americans can name a favorite drag queen at this point. No. Not me. But something has also changed in how Americans see drag. Drag queens went from a favorite gift to add to a particularly sassy tweet to the manifestation of everything conservative Americans fear about LGBTQ activism, especially toward children. It might seem easy to dismiss these concerns as an overreaction or even as an expression of bigotry, but conservatives are right about this one. The art of drag relies on exaggerated sexuality and female stereotypes. Drag queens, through dazzling performances, over-the-top humor, and a cultural dedication to irreverent commentary, have long acted as a release valve for the LGBTQ community. They could say and do things that others would never dare to express, and their unpredictable and provocative personas have long kept audiences on the edge of their seats. With careful inflection, a hand on an over-padded hip, and a wink, a drag queen can speak truth to power and make them laugh. This, however, has always remained within the private walls of adult entertainment, and for good reason. Drag queens take on the most absurd sexualized elements of female stereotypes in gay culture, and add a few cans of hairspray to make it even bigger and bolder. They strut out on stage, and without a moment of hesitation or shame, unleash epic poems of intentionally offensive obscenity, all with a smile and a sense of style no audience can resist. Although many have argued this charisma can be redirected into child-appropriate entertainment, education, and advocacy, the reality demonstrates otherwise. Drag queens can't turn it off. Whether in front of a cheering crowd in a gay bar or a room full of kids at a library, the performance doesn't change. They cannot translate the magic so many of us enjoy on stage to something children can understand. Worse, far too many have chosen to disregard the concept of appropriateness altogether, performing dance routines, wearing costumes, and portraying the same bombastic and overtly sexual characters in front of kids as they would in front of adults. Rather than appreciate this distinction, activists have doubled down and declared their adult entertainment world not only suitable for kids, but necessary and educational. LGBTQ activism has distorted whatever playful and innocent fun a sultry and perfectly poised RuPaul could bring to the room into another act of social rebellion designed to mock and provoke parents in conservative America. By its very nature, drag is already unsuitable for children, based on the culture it flourished in and the way the art form communicates to its audience. It barely translates outside of the LGBTQ cultural bubble. The more you remove these elements, the less it resembles drag and the more it looks like advocacy for something kids just shouldn't be exposed to. You take away the cursing, the sexual innuendo, the revealing clothes, the provocative dress, and the sharp political commentary, and you're left with an adult man in a dress mocking women and trying to convince children he's an ambassador for an entire community. It just doesn't work. It cannot work. Some cultural experiences are simply meant for adults, and drag is one of them. They are not clowns or cartoon characters. They're not educators or counselors. They're entertainers. Their job is to take obscenity and irreverent humor and make it as glorious and exaggerated as their wigs and makeup. By taking away the adult nature of drag, you ruin it. And by forcing it into children's spaces, you turn it into something threatening and vile. Leave the kids alone. They will have plenty of opportunities to discover the joy of drag when they are adults and old enough to appreciate it for what it is. Okay. So with the way this article started off, I didn't think that, I thought it was speaking ironically, but I agree. Believe it or not. I full-heartedly agree with this article. As a person who, I was not a drag queen, I was certainly a cross-dresser. Like, drag is something I have experienced. When my grandmother was still alive, in an attempt to get her out of the house and in some type of activity she could enjoy, I took her to a drag queen bingo in Royal Oak at this place. I think it was called, like, I forget what it was called, like 515 or something like that. But I took her to drag queen bingo, and to lend credence to the article about what drag queens are and what they do, there's one joke that the drag queen told that I will never forget because I thought my grandmother was gonna faint in the fucking bingo hall. And dog said, me and my boyfriend have been trying to get pregnant for a long time, but it always ends in a shitty mess. And I'm just like, oh man, that's so fucking cringe. And the first thing I did was look to my grandmother, and she was laughing, and I just felt so much better. I was so relieved. I'm like, at least she's having a good time. Not to mention later on, the drag queen hosting that event asked me to stand up, and because I'm a black man, she made an innuendo about how large my dick must be in front of my grandmother, which was easily the only time I've been that embarrassed is when my grandmother had to get me back into high school because I got caught getting my dick sucked on the stairwell, and my mom was not going to get me back in school. My grandma had to do it, and when they told her what happened, I saw my grandma like reboot her operating system. I heard beep bum boom boom in the background. Like she could not process what she had heard. My grandma was real prude. But that shit, she admitted it was raunchy, more raunchy for her taste, but she had a good time. And I had a good time. I actually did enjoy the drag queen bingo. I've gone to drag shows. I don't care for drag shows. I don't really care to see men appropriating women, strutting around to songs I really don't listen to anyway. But the drag queen bingo, like, the commentary was funny, the jokes were funny. Usually the hosts of drag shows are funny. That's the draw for me. The stage work, the host is the draw. The host is blunt and fierce and just says what the fuck they want to say, and I vibe with that energy. But I'm glad, even though this person in the article, what's his name, Chad Felix Green, does drag and whatnot and has done drag and understands that drag is an inherently sexual male burlesque scene and it is not an appropriate atmosphere for children to be in regarding the health of their psychological development. It's just not. There's no way. That's like saying you can make child-friendly porn. Like you can have a fucking bukkake scene that's okay for a 10-year-old to see. And to say that it's necessary, to say that children need to know about this, it's like, why do they need to know about it when they're going to find out anyways? You guys are everywhere. The LGBTQ is everywhere. Terms like heteroflexible and shit insist that there are a lot of men out there who have had same-sex experiences, and while they may not, like, live their lives as gays, they've done some gay shit. So it's like, that shit, like, you can't really talk about drag queen without that shit extending to sex somehow. Like, you don't ever really see, like, a drag queen, like, talking about economics or, like, teaching a seminar or some shit like that. It's just not, that life is completely enmeshed in sexual proclivities. It's a group of people whose sexual identity has risen to the forefront of their identity. It's like it's their overall identity. It's risen to the forefront of their overall identity. This defines who they are. And they say you just not. They use terms like you're not. All people are trying to do is be themselves. Like, what the hell do you mean, be yourself? Quick sidebar. Nah, I'll interrupt with the sidebar afterwards because I just want to finish my point on it. But this should really, the kicker is this shouldn't really even be a fucking debate. We should not even be needing to write articles discussing why drag is inappropriate for children. That shit should be understood. It's just like why porn is inappropriate for children. Just why alcohol is inappropriate for children. Just like tobacco is inappropriate for children. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a way to go about introducing one to the evil and the vices in the world. Like, they have a place. They belong here. You cannot, the moment you invent things for good, you create forces for evil. I've said this many, many times. So these things have a place. But in front of children's faces is not the place. It's just not. That's not transphobia. It's not bigotry. It's not racism. It's not hate. It's not any of that. It's just the truth. All that shit is a part of a grand scale effort to inculcate a generation of children into this LGBTQ radical nonsense. It's despicable and hate-filled, and these people are demonic, satanic ghouls who don't know a life outside of their sexual identity. There's no reliably coherent foundation beneath all of that shit. You're a confused individual who's in denial of their confusion and can't be helped. But that doesn't mean that that whatever the fuck you going through in your head has to spill out into the populace. That's something you got to work through. That's something that you got to address. You got to address your mental health. I don't need you passing your mental health issues down to my children. Down to the next generation of children. Innocent children. All I need you to do is live your life. At some point, show a hint of gratitude and not pretend that you're victims every fucking day at the top of your lungs. Because quite frankly, I think I speak for more than just conservatives, but like, we're all pretty tired of hearing this shit. We've heard your fucking message. We know what you want to do, and we're over it. We are over it. We don't want this. We vehemently oppose this. It's evil. The agenda is evil. It's an adult event. Children need to be able to be children again. Adults need to be able to be adults. Stop raping the future of children. Because you're fucked up. Because that's what this is. That's what this whole movement is. Because this shit, I know for a fact, this shit was not prevalent when I was growing up, and we seem like the last generation got some sense. These new motherfuckers. I don't know what to tell you. Quick sidebar, man. Just a little bit of my distraction in that last segment. This morning I woke up before I went to work. I walked to the gas station to get a Rello because I wanted to smoke a blunt. I was approached by a small cat on the way there, and I knelt down. I pet him. He followed me for a bit. I was going to go in the gas station, get him some wet food, but they didn't have any wet food. By the time I came out of the gas station, the cat was gone. I go to work. I come home. The cat is sitting in the chair on my front porch. And then another cat came up onto the porch. And this has not happened. I've been living where I've been living almost 3 months. This has not happened. And it just comes and jumps up on my leg and nestles in my lap. I just sit there and I have a phone conversation, and the cat just falls asleep. And my friend was telling me, like, the cat adopted you. Like, you just got adopted by the cat. And I just feel like my energy lately has just been attracting a lot of good things. Like, I feel like I'm so happy that my head is clear. I'm not on drugs. My mind is in the right place. I'm eating well. I'm exercising. I'm being active. The future looks bright, and I don't want to ruin it. And the way this cat just came and fell asleep in my lap like that, like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like that's like a message from God. Like, it's like a sign. There's some kind of symbolism to that. Certainly possible I could be looking too far into it, but I doubt it. Like, I just, I think I'm going to keep the cat. And I've named the cat Nestle because I had jumped up in my lap and nestled in my shit like that, sitting right here, chewing on this bone and rubbing up against me. It's a little brown cat. I didn't know whether my roommate was going to be cool with it, but it turns out my roommate was already feeding the cat. So it looks like I'm going to be another cat owner again. But it's a cute little cat. And it's just sitting out here chilling with me, and I just wanted to, it's kind of just making me mellow out. I'm just happy that it's here. I'm happy I can bring the cat happiness. And I'm happy to have a little buddy here. It's refreshing. So just wanted to do a little quick sidebar and mention that because I was paying attention to the cat for some of that podcast. Because it's nice to have a little companion here. Courtesy of Back Edge News. What the fuck? What are these news outlets? Like, I've never heard of, like, Back Edge. Man, I might need to pick a different pool of sources. Weird ass. Anyways, trans U-turn. Transgender swimmer wins NCAA competition, but now faces lifetime ban in women's sports. So just based off that headline, my mouth is salivating. And it's not because I'm drinking water. Let's read. Transgender swimmer wins NCAA competition. A transgender swimmer has been surrounded by controversy after winning the NCAA and is now facing a ban. Here's the story. Lia Thomas. Oh, okay. Was that a picture of that person? No, okay. So that opening picture was not that person. Okay. Lia Thomas, a talented swimmer, achieved national success after joining the women's team at Yale University. Before this, she competed on the men's team for 3 years, but ranked much lower. Which is pretty much the case with all of these failed male athletes who want to run over to the women's side and dominate and try to, it's literally like being a pitcher, being an adult pitcher in a little league game and then celebrating the no-hitter. Like, come on, bro. Like, it's not fair. Now Lia Thomas' swimming career might face an uncertain future due to a new policy by the International Swimming Federation, FINA, that bans most biological males from competing in women's events on the world stage. So what the fuck? Like, what do you mean most biological males from competing in women's events? Why? What is the reason that you would allow a male to compete amongst females in any sport, let alone a sport such as swimming? The thing about swimming is, like, one, as an exercise, it works out your entire body. Swimming is a full body exercise. So when you talk about men having longer wingspans, like higher lung capacity, higher hemoglobin capabilities, and all of that kind of shit, you know, just thicker bone density. Like, men may not float in the water as good as women, but that density is what allows men to cut through the water better and faster than women. And that's not to throw any shade at women. Like, this is not an insult towards women to say you cannot physically compete at a man's level. Like, at a woman's level, like, you could be outright elite, but that does not rank you among the elites of men in that same physical competition. But I don't know what's up with this most males shit, talking about it bans most biological males from women's events. What the fuck do you mean most? Why not all? What's the point of having men's and women's sports if most men can't play women's sports, but a few can? Incoherent, babble, mumbo jumbo, stupid fucking nonsense. According to this policy, transgender swimmers must complete their transitions by age 12 to be able to compete. All right, now, here's a slippery slope at work. So it's like, once you allow them at age 12, if like a couple of them get in at age 12, have some success, then they're going to say, well, they were capable at age 10, and then blah, blah, blah. 5-year-olds should be, it's just like, no, you can't allow this. You cannot mix the sexes in sports. Like, you cannot in any way. And I've oftentimes said make a transgender league would be the lesser of two evils, because if you make a transgender league, it's going to by default exclude biological women. Because men are going to join as under the guise of women. Real men are just going to play men's sports. They're not going to come to this. No man is going to lead, unless he just want to do that shit, just come down to a transgender league and dominate a bunch of hormone, estrogened out sissy boys. You know, there's no incentive for a man, a DNA man, to play in a transgender league. There's no incentive. So you're going to have a bunch of men who think they're women competing against a bunch of other men who think they're women, which is men's sports. So the whole transgender sport league idea, it's not even a lesser of two evils anymore. Like, I've thought it through a little further. It's just actually fucking stupid. It's incoherent. It's not even a lesser of two evils. That option is off the table. What the fuck do we need a transgender league for? If you let men into women's sports, there are no more sports. It's just sport. Women will be athletically and Darwinistically pushed out of sports. That's just how it is. There's no argument against that. The new policy was voted for by an overwhelming 71.5% of the governing board of swimming. It also clarified that it doesn't support early childhood transitioning. So if you don't, what do you mean early childhood transitioning? Like, the transition process as a whole does not need to happen. Doctors don't need to be butchering people to affirm their delusions. And then what about the other 28.5%? Like, so 28.5% of this women board thought that trans women should be able to compete at the world stage? Like, seriously. Where's that 28.5%? Fucking crazy. Scientific evidence. A spokesperson for FINA President Hussein Al-Musallam, James Pierce, a spokesperson for FINA President Hussein Al-Musallam James Pierce, explained that the policy is based on scientific evidence that transitioning after puberty can provide an advantage, which is deemed unfair. What? Based on scientific evidence that transitioning after puberty can provide an advantage? Well, duh. Because after puberty, you pretty much have grown into who you are. Like, you have grown into the man or woman that you are. So transitioning after puberty provides an advantage if you're a man that's going to, play against women who have went into puberty as women. And I hope this ain't some type of backdoor push for like puberty blockers. Like, we need to block the puberty so we can have it happen when we want to so people don't have an advantage. Like, this shit is all radically it's grandiose. It's way too far. All of this shit, these people having this discussion have no compunction whatsoever about the damage that it's causing. Like, this shit ain't real. This is like fantasy gone berserk. That's what all of this shit is, man. It's fantasy gone berserk. The biological advantage. Lia Thomas won the 2022 NCAA Division I championship in the 500-yard freestyle. But experts like Mayo Clinic Dr. Michael Joyner and physiologist Ross Tucker believe she has a biological advantage over her female competitors. Oh, do they now? So you mean to tell me that experts like Mayo Clinic Dr. Michael Joyner and physiologist Ross Tucker believe she has a biological advantage over her female competitors? Now, let's just pause here. Now, why do you think a once biological man would have an advantage over their female competitors? Like, why? I mean, she's a woman. Lia Thomas is a woman. She's always been a woman. Even before she knew she was a woman. She's always been a woman. She's a woman trapped in a man's body. She's stunning and she's brave. And to suggest that she has a biological advantage over her female competitors because she used to be a man is bigotry. Okay? It's fucking bigotry. You should be goddamn ashamed of yourself if you don't think it's bigotry. As a matter of fact, you should be killed. Your life you shouldn't be alive. You shouldn't be able to be alive if you have a viewpoint different from that. Why do we need other viewpoints than this viewpoint? Why do we need viewpoints at all? Why can't anybody just do whatever the fuck they want to do and if they believe it is true? Why do we need objective truth? Fuck out of here, man. The goofy ass language. The advantage is thought to mainly be due to testosterone levels. Oh my God. Yeah, it's not the fact that, got wider shoulders, more bone density, longer wingspan, higher lung capability, higher muscle mass, higher physical output, taller, bigger, faster. No, it's just the testosterone, bro. If you just have more estrogen, you'd be competitive with them. That's what it is. Despite undergoing testosterone suppression for years required by NCAA policy, the impact of nearly 20 years of male testosterone levels may not be fully reversible. You think? Bro, this is all breaking news. Like, until this moment right now, I didn't even know that I already knew this. Like, I knew this, but I didn't know that I knew this until Michael Joyner and Ross Tucker made this startling discovery. Like, oh shit, if it wasn't for them niggas, I'd still be out here thinking that men and women is equal in that regard. I'm so glad I found this article, man. I'd be walking around a dumb, bumbling ass idiot had I not read this goofy ass shit. In response to the controversy, Lia Thomas expressed that she identifies as a woman and sees herself as just a swimmer. Well, of course you do. If you see yourself as anything the fuck else, you're going to disqualify yourself. You're going to undermine your own horse shit. However, popular public figures in sports and medicine have voiced concerns over the controversy. She identifies as a woman and sees herself as just a swimmer. Okay, I identify as a rock star and see myself as Nikki Sixx. How about that? How about that? Fuck, I'm Nikki Sixx. Because I said I am. Fucking ridiculous, man. Celebrities weigh in. These figures include cardiothoracic surgeon Dr. Oz Olympian Michael Phelps. Oh, excuse me. These figures include Jesus Christ. Cardiothoracic surgeon Dr. Oz, Olympian Michael Phelps, and former Olympic gold medalist Caitlyn Jenner, who used to be Bruce Jenner, in case you didn't know, who have all expressed concerns about transgender athletes competing against athletes of a different biological gender. Now, fucking Bruce Jenner is saying that men shouldn't compete against women as a man-woman, as a trans woman. That should say something. That should be that should be a hard-hitting, like fucking, that should be persuasive. Caitlyn Jenner argued that the University of Virginia swimmer Emma Weyant, who came in second place behind Thomas, should be considered the rightful champion of the event. In a conversation with TMZ, she stated, "Biological boys should not be playing in women's sports. We need to protect women's sports, and Lia Thomas is also not good for women's sports. It's unfortunate that this is happening. I don't know why she's doing it." The former male Olympian makes it clear that she believes biological men should not compete in women's sports in order to protect the integrity of women's sports. And that's because no matter how Caitlyn Jenner wants to identify, no matter if she's got the she's post-op or whatever, that's a man, baby. And it's got a male brain in there. And the male brain part of Caitlyn Jenner is like, oh, come on now. This is just ridiculous. And Caitlyn Jenner was a fucking stellar athlete. Like, dominant. So she knows. Like, why aren't there other trans people speaking about this? Like, trans people should be the main ones saying, like, no, this isn't fair. Like, if you can at least if you can concede that obvious reality, like, y'all could probably get away with whatever you want. If y'all be willing to just come out and admit that trans women don't belong in sports, y'all receive such overwhelming support, y'all could nuke the world and we would do it. We would be, sometimes you gotta nuke the world, man. Sometimes planets just need to explode, man. And trans people have helped us realize that. That's what we be saying. But you won't. Despite the differing opinions on the matter, the issue remains complex and there are no easy solutions. They keep saying this is a complex issue. It's not. It's not. It's not complex. It's very simple. No trans athletes in regular sports. Because all it's going to do, no matter how you simulate it, no matter how you run it out, it's going to exclude women. It's going to exclude women from the athletic realm. Because they don't have a place where they can go and not be dominated. Lia Thomas' success has brought attention to the debate surrounding transgender athletes in sports, and the governing bodies are working to find a fair and inclusive approach while addressing concerns about competitiveness and fairness. Lia Thomas' journey as a swimmer has brought attention to the issue of transgender athletes competing in women's sports. There's many other examples, too. It's not just Lia Thomas. It's not just fucking Lia Thomas. Yeah, all right, the rest of these slides are just repetitive mumbo-jumbo. Yeah, it's not just Lia Thomas. Like, Lia Thomas has an unfair advantage over her competition. Why? Because Lia Thomas has an unfair advantage over his competition. It's a guy. Give a fuck if you see yourself as a swimmer. We see you as a nigga. You a dude. You have a dick and balls. You are a man. You have a prostate. You do not have a uterus. You don't have breasts. Fuck all the stereotypical, like, oh, well, you're not bitchy and whiny and you don't have PMS and you don't want to be a housewife. We're like, bro, you still look like a dude, you still sound like a dude, and you still dominate women in sports like a dude. Stop the cap. All right, courtesy of USA Today, California school board president gets death threats after pride flag ban. Now, this episode isn't on Spotify, but it's the episode. It was episode 49. It was a video episode. I talked about Hamtramck. Hamtramck is a city within the boundaries of the city of Detroit, and it's a very big Arab Muslim presence there. And they were under fire, per se, for just making the decision as a community to ban the display of pride flags. They don't want them in their community. And as you know, leftists and LGBTQ activists were quick to come and call these people bigots and rally against them and come in and flood the city and try to tear them down for knowing what they want. Or what they don't want, rather. So this article goes into a California school board president said he received multiple death threats after his board voted to ban all flags except the U.S. flag and the California state flag at the district's elementary school. And this is a long article. I'm going to just give you a heads up, so I'm going to try not to ramble too much, but it's a long fucking article. But I think it's good to talk about in response to the whole Hamtramck banning the pride flag, and then we talk about somebody else banning the pride flag and now they're getting death threats. So I'm gonna compound on that later, but it's cold as shit out here. Starting to get nippy in the D, man. The Sunol Glen School Board voted 2-1 last month to ban all other flags, including LGBTQ and pride flags, so that no single group would be favored over another. School Board President Ryan Jurgensen told USA Today. The ban was upheld in the second vote Tuesday night. Critics of the decision said flying pride flags is a key way to show LGBTQ students they belong and can feel safe at school, among a nationwide push for new laws restricting LGBTQ rights and LGBTQ-related education. Now, see, this, first of all, I don't want to say there are no LGBTQ students, but there are no trans LGBT kids, like elementary school? This is at an elementary school. Okay, so there are no trans kids at an elementary school. First, second, no. There are no... The ones that are going through that, if they know they have an attraction to boys or anything like that, that's normal. That's always been happening. There's always been the small amount of gay kids or whatever that was obviously gay, and that shit hasn't really been a problem. They might have hard upbringings or they may get bullied, but other kids besides gay kids get bullied, bullies are everywhere. It's bullies even when you grow up. So I'm not, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, you need pride flags to make children feel safe. Okay, so, what flag has ever made somebody safe? So when somebody run up in that school and start shooting shit up, you gonna whip out a fucking pride flag and deflect the bullets? How come pride flags didn't save the kids at that Christian school in Nashville where that trans person ran in there and shot them up and shot a staff member? Where was the pride flags then? Fucking Nimrods. Stupid shit. Since the September 12th vote, Jurgensen said he has received dozens of angry emails, including 3 messages he said made him fear for his physical safety and that of his wife and children. He reported the messages to police and has filed a restraining order against former school board member, he said. The tension over pride flags in Sunol comes amid a growing trend of school districts and municipalities across the country removing and banning pride flags in an effort to be more apolitical. Yeah. I don't think it's really about being apolitical. I think it's just about what the fuck is the right thing to do. The right thing to do, morally, damn near objectively, is to not be forcing this trans agenda down the throats of children and to be on top of all that, doing it under the guise of care and concern and worrying about their well-being so they don't kill themselves when it's been repeatedly shown that this has no effect on the rate of suicide. Like, these people still, the number doesn't increase or decrease. It's about the same. So that's not the solution here. We know this. The school, the government should be apolitical. Down the middle, Jurgensen said. Sunol is a port of Northern California's Bay Area and has a population of under 1,000. Attacks against pride flags on the rise. Authorities across the country have been responding this year to a growing number of attacks targeting LGBTQ flags. Attacks targeting flags? You attack a flag? Like, who gives a fuck? If it's not the American flag or the state flag, like, you can actually, attacking the U.S. flag is actually illegal. Like, you can't fly a ripped, tarnished flag, and you have to dispose of it a certain way. You have to burn a flag and dispose of it properly. You can't just, like, toss a U.S. flag in a garbage can casually. Like, there's a way you have to fly and maintain and present the U.S. flag, and there are laws that protect that, But that was back when the nation's flag in the country wasn't seen as racial colonist, and that shit used to actually mean something. That shit doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, people hate the U.S. flag. That's why they want to replace it with this rainbow shit. That's what it is. That's why those flags are being attacked. They're being attacked by the people that, who are basically attacking the flag by attacking the culture that flag represents. You're basically attacking the flag. You're not actually, like, physically attacking the U.S. flag, but by trying to replace it and fly this flag and try to make it tantamount to the U.S. flag just because your culture, you was oppressed, or you can't be openly gay, or people aren't all in favor of it. Like, no matter what you are, people aren't going to be all in favor of it. Obama was one of the most favorite presidents of all the time, but he wasn't everybody's favorite. There was a lot of people who openly despised Obama and went against everything he said and did, regardless of whether it was good or bad. So there's always going to be somebody out there against you. So just because everybody, like, there's going to be people against LGBTQ, like, just like numerically, statistically. So for them to think that they could just force everybody to be on board is a pipe dream. That shit's ludicrous. It's farcical. In August, a Southern California shop owner was shot and killed by a man after a confrontation over a pride flag she hung outside. Wow. Also, in August, a Colorado man was charged for a hate crime for destroying LGBTQ pride flags at the Stonewall National Monument in New York City. Now, the first one, let me read that again. She was shot and killed by a man after a confrontation over a pride. I think that's a bit extreme. Like, no one needs to be shot and killed over the flag. Like, if she wants to hang it and you don't like that she's hanging it, like, you can destroy the flag, whatever, sure. Destroy the flag, but to fucking shoot and kill someone for it? How is that not extreme? Like, how is that just not objectively extra? That's too much. That's too much. That's too far. But then again, I don't know all the intricate details. Someone's bringing a package to me. I think this package is from my roommate. I'm going to edit this out. All right. Sarah Moore, an extremism analyst with the Anti-Defamation League and GLAAD, I forget what that stands, but I think that's like a pro-trans organization, if I'm not mistaken. But recently told USA Today that she has tracked incidents across the country where people damage, burn, or steal pride flags hanging outside private residences, restaurants, and other businesses. Earlier this year, there was an online hate campaign using a hashtag that advocated for a Destroy the Pride Flag challenge, she said. There's definitely been an increase in attacks against pride flags. Just in August, Moore tracked attacks on pride flags in Newton, Connecticut, Capitola, California, Hamtramck, Michigan, Seattle, and Houston. I told you. We need allies more than ever, Moore said. Now, okay, so yeah. I spoke earlier about attacks on pride flags like it was something that was ridiculous. So yeah, seems like these are actual attacks on the pride flags. I'll concede that. And I don't think that's okay. Just like how I don't think it's okay when Matt Walsh decides to come to a place and speak and people decide to rip his posters down and rip his pinups down. It's like, it's got to be across the board. Like, you can't, like, you can be against it. I don't want to see pride flags, but like, that doesn't mean I'm not going to see them. There are certain places I don't want to see them, such as like on government buildings, or like, or in schools, areas like that. I don't really want to see pride flags there. Those places have a primary objective, which is more important than representation. Especially when that shit is just it's a backdoor way to inculcate and sexualize children at a young age. It's fucking disgusting. The Sunall Glen School Board's decision to ban both flags came after a vandalism incident in June involving a pride flag that for years had been hung on the school's fence, according to current and former school board members. The message was, "We love you, Lord," is seen on a pride flag at a makeshift memorial outside the Magpie clothing store in Cedar Glen near Lake Arrowhead, California, on August 21st, 2023. The owner of the store, Laura Ann Carlton, was fatally shot on August 18th by a man who made several disparaging remarks about a rainbow flag displayed outside her store, according to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. The suspect was later killed during an encounter with deputies. Now, see, that's awful. That's absolutely awful. I don't think nobody need to be killed over a pride flag. Like, whether you want to see it or not, or whether people vote against it. Like, if people vote against it, people who fly the pride flag should respect that decision. Go somewhere where they don't mind it hanging up. You cannot force people to want to see that. Just like they can't force you to want to see things regarding their heterosexuality or how they feel about marriage. Like, it's a give and take here. So if the community votes and they say they don't want it, respect that. Or go somewhere else. Why is California school board member getting death threats? Dozens of emails were sent to Jurgensen following the contentious September 12th vote on the flag resolution, he said. Jurgensen said he also filed a restraining order against former school board member Denise Kent Romo because she posted in a private Facebook group saying he has ties to hate groups. Jurgensen said the accusations are false. I requested the restraining order because the most credible death threats I received directly reference her postings and her ascertains that I'm a member of hate groups. He asked Kent Romo to take the post down. In a Wednesday interview, Kent Romo said she had not been served restraining order documents, and her original Facebook post, which was viewed by USA Today, is still up in the private group. She said this would be the first time she has received a restraining order and that threats of violence made against Jurgensen and against any public servant should never be tolerated. Death threats are never okay. It's absolutely vile, she said. It's just a terrible situation. You don't know who online is just a keyboard warrior or somebody with bad intentions. It's very scary. Well, fuck yeah, it's very scary. But I just saw a clip of Ben Shapiro not that long ago saying that he pays like at least six figures a year in personal security. And like, I believe it. Matt Walsh replied to a comment that was made on his post talking about like, until you've had to have your family like under 24/7 armed surveillance, and people dox you and try to like and hack your phones and all that type of shit, which all happened to Matt Walsh. Like, don't talk to him about that shit. It's like that shit's real. Like, these motherfuckers say they all about kindness and togetherness and being welcoming and all that shit. But if you don't want a pride flag flown in your vicinity, they'll fucking kill you. They'll openly gloat and discuss your death. And when you die, they will dance and piss on your grave. Because of the kindness, That's the way they show kind gesture. That's just a kind gesture. If you think that's hate, you misunderstand. That's not hate. That's just how we show how much we fuck with you by pissing on your goddamn grave and throwing dirt on your name at every opportunity we get. Public officials have to be accountable to the public, she said. Oh, wait, hold on, no. Kent Romo said, wait, did I move too far? Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, here we go. Kent Romo says she opposes the flag ban and remains concerned about attendees of the school board meetings who have ties to extremist groups. She says she is leading the push for a recall of Jurgensen and the other board member who voted in favor of the flag ban. Kent Romo says she feels Jurgensen's restraining order is an overreaction because public officials should expect criticism from members of the public. The restraining order against her could also be a tactic to silence further opposition to the flag ban in Sunol. Public officials have to be accountable to the public, adding that she thinks the majority of the Sunol community opposes the blanket flag ban. How much more of this? Let's see here. What else do I want to read on this? I don't care why they ban pride flags. I'm pretty sure I understand why they ban pride flags. And you got to remember, the place in question here is an elementary school. It's an elementary school. It's an elementary school. It's an elementary school. They don't want pride flags on the fucking elementary school. And one more thing, it's an elementary school. They don't want pride flags on it. You shouldn't want pride flags on the elementary school. You shouldn't want your kids being exposed to gay. And they just said Dada 3 years ago for the first time. Like, that's too soon. That's just too soon. Like, I don't think there's any adult in existence that does not know gay people exist. There is not one. If you ask any random numbskull on the street, motherfucker drooling at the mouth and eyes offset and teeth crooked, have you ever heard of gay people? Yes! Doesn't matter. Everybody knows what gay people are, especially by the time you hit adult life, you know what gay is. So, it's not... They're going to find out. What's the rush? Read this last part here. Are pride flags constitutionally protected? Municipal policies banning only the pride flag are considered viewpoint discrimination under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, according to the ACLU. In schools, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled the First Amendment protections extend to teachers and students, neither of whom shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate, the ACLU says in its pride flag legal resource. But until a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of pride flag bans reaches the Supreme Court, municipalities and school boards can keep passing blanket flag bans, said Jay Blocher, co-founder of New York City's Gilbert Baker Foundation, an LGBTQ advocacy group named for the pride flag's creator. They're willing to put a ban on other flags in their zeal to ban the rainbow flag. What's the big deal? You cannot help but find it weird that people become enraged and are willing to threaten your life because you can't hang up gay flags at the fucking elementary school. What's the one thing they love to say when you question this shit? Oh, why do you care? Why do you care about children seeing gay flags? LGBTQ flags? Do you not know that there are places you can fly them and, like, no one will say anything? As a matter of fact, people will come up and, like, compliment you and say good things to you for having the pride flag. There are places you can go where that kind of reaction exists. It's not, like, banned. You just have to find the place where that's okay. Because if you don't, then you're going to face opposition. There is no doctrine short of like public water fountains being in places that like something is just owed to you. Like water is probably about the only free thing you can like really get that's just like free. Like you can always go somewhere and get access to water. That's true. But you're not just owed anything because you exist or because your ancestors had it rough. Like, they don't live vicariously through you. It's not how it works. I got a bee like fucking crip walking underneath my feet. I don't understand it. Like, can't you just go away? Just go away. Don't land here. Jesus Christ. The degree of entitlement that these motherfuckers have is appalling. It's mind-boggling. I don't understand it. I don't agree with the bulk of it. I don't think people should be getting shot and killed simply for flying a pride flag, regardless of how you feel about the flag. Like, if a motherfucker wanted to fly a Star Wars, a Jedi flag, if a motherfucker wanted to fly a pottery flag, if a motherfucker wanted to fly a cloud flag, you don't get to just shoot and kill somebody because you disagree with it, even if the flag represents something disagreeable. That's not okay. And it's not that extreme. Like, it don't have to be that extreme. It's like all that does is fuel the narrative that this shit is under attack, which I'm sure, it is to some degree, but I don't think it should be under physical attack. Like, we shouldn't be shooting and killing people. We shouldn't be attacking people over these disagreements. We should be speaking out and speaking what we think against them and calling it out when we see things that's targeting children. But there's regulations and there's laws in place designed to handle that shit when it occurs. We have a justice system that when, in most cases, when all the pieces align, like it is effective. It's a lot of holes in it, but, when it works good. Man. I don't. These people have an obsession, and they will beat this drum. They will just beat you into submission, and that's exactly why you can't submit. This is nonsense. California school board member did the right thing. And all these kind and friendly and loving and welcoming and accepting and affirming LGBTQ people threaten your life if you oppose them. What's kind about that? Like, you're not threatening their life, but they'll say you are. They'll say you're advocating the genocide of trans people. Like, how liable, like that? You can't just say that. Especially when it's not true. Genocide? Genocide? Y'all can say whatever y'all want. That's not based in the fabric of reality in the slightest bit. But I can't speak truth without getting death threats. Can't want to protect children without getting death threats. No, it totally sounds kind and considerate to me. Like, no, it 100% reasonable, man. Please take my life if I disagree with you. Just take my life. It'll always be a fair exchange, and I won't regret you for it after I'm dead. I won't resent you for it after I'm dead. That's the show. Thanks for listening. I was Mo on mental maintenance, but it's coming because I'm in the my inability to put my video episodes on Spotify has caused me to find a way to where I don't have to make 2 episodes of the same one. I don't have to, I don't have to do double work basically. So I'm working on putting together a web page which I can host from there, and I'm going to figure out how to split the audio from the video track and put it on Spotify. So the episodes aren't and there's nowhere that the episode, it'll be ubiquitous. All the episodes will be findable, and it won't be like, well, you got to listen to Spotify to hear this episode, but if you go to YouTube, you watch that, and just going forward, it could be all video episodes, and they'll all be integrated, and it'll just be a much better experience, because I'm figuring out a better way for me to do this, and I'm working on some things. So yeah, I've been negligent. I probably will be negligent for the next, anticipating maybe like a month or so, but this shit will continue going on. I thank everybody for listening. Thank everybody for hanging in there. And until next time, I holla.